So throughout my life, I think I've come to terms with one truth, definitely, and that is that there is one secret to getting good at life and never being bored. So if you're watching this video and you, not occasionally, but fairly often feel unfulfilled, bored with life, you're not happy with where you are, this video will give you a hand. So straight away, what is the secret to basically getting good at life and enjoying life? The secret is never-ending progress, and I'm going to put this into a way that you can understand. So time is always passing. If you look at this picture I've drawn up here, it's a silly little picture, but it does illustrate what I mean well. This blue line represents time stacking up over time. So obviously you can't stop time. It's always moving. It's always stacking up over time until the day you die, like at the end of this line. So time is always moving. The problem is you're probably not actually growing as a person. If we look at this red line down here, this could, hypothetically measure your growth and how far you're going as a person. Maybe you grow a lot just because it's your early years, so you're naturally growing. Then you start school and you learn a little bit in school, and then after you leave school, you basically don't grow at all as a person. Like, yeah, sure, you're going to get a job and your income's going to go up a little bit, but it's probably not even going to go up that much, and then you're also going to stop exercising and, maybe see your friends less, stop being healthy, etc. So you're not actually really improving. I'm going to shut the window. You're not actually really going up that much in life, and yet when we compare this line to this line, time is still going no matter what. So in my opinion, when time passes and you're not leveling up either equal to time or faster than time, you start to feel down. I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. But basically, wrap your head around the idea that if there is like a negative gap between this blue line and this red line, if I put this red line onto the blue line, there'd be a gap between them. The bigger that gap is between them when the red line is below, basically means the bigger the gap there is between time and the level you should be at. And when you're not progressing at an appropriate level, you'll feel bad. The opposite is also true. If we look at this one down here, the blue line represents time, the gold line represents your progress. If you were extremely successful like this person, and I'm not talking about materialistic success, I just meant you were constantly leveling up as a person, and again, we'll talk about how to do that on the next slide, you would feel much, much better, because look at, there's a gap now, but it's on the opposite side. There's a positive gap because you've achieved so much. Maybe in this hypothetical example, you feel really happy, you've read a bunch of books on mental health, you're not stressed at all, you have fantastic relationships, you're in excellent shape, you get up maybe early every morning to go for a run, and then you hit weights after work every day, you love your life, you go on a few holidays a year, something like that, you're really happy with where you are. That would be this one, because you've leveled up a lot in proportion to time. But I think you're probably an intelligent person if you're watching this. I'm sure you'd agree if I said most people are kind of a little bit like this. They basically don't read a book after school ever again, and their life is basically, comfort, vices, video games, things that kind of numb the pain without them actually improving at their life. So now that we've address the problem and the secret, never-ending progress and constant improvement, self-improvement is how you feel fulfilled and not bored as a person. Let's talk about how to do that. But just to remind you, this was what the video was about, the secret to getting good at life. I've already given you the secret. Now let's talk about the implementation and how you can actually feel really good as a person and constantly be growing. So there's 4 things I'm going to address: goals, and I'm also going to address systems, which I guess you could call a 5th thing. By the way, there's going to be a free PDF in the description. It's not mine, it's someone else's, but it was free, so it's not copyright or anything. And we're going to also talk about taking action, reflection, and other tips. So, step 1, goals. Here's the first thing I want you to do, and it's going to be an actionable step. So I'd prefer if you could pause the video and do it right now. If you can't do it right now, that's fine. If you've watched my previous video and already done this step, because it's kind of a similar step to what we just did, that's fine. You don't have to do it again, but you can still get that out in front of you if you want to look at it. So what we're going to do is we're going to design the character. I didn't even shut the window properly. I hate when you go to shut something and you think it's shut and you push it and then it clicks even more, and it's like, it's the most annoying thing. I'm going to end up punching it one day when it is shut and then break it, and then I'll have to pay for it. But anyway, you probably don't care about my window. What we're going to do is design the character of who you want to be. So you should ask yourself the questions: what do you want to have/do? Where do you live? Where does obviously you're going to need some kind of income. Where does that come from? What do you do for work? What's your mission? And by mission, I mean, what kind of purposeful thing are you working on? I've already made a video on purpose. I'll have it pop up on the screen right now. I'd highly recommend you check it out after this video. I'll have it pop up at the end as well. But we're also going to talk about purpose a little bit at the end of this video. And if you like that, you can go and watch the full video. But purpose is very, very important. So once you've asked yourself all these questions, what you'll do is you can draw a little stick man in the middle of the page or whatever. And you can just draw little lines around him, like a little mind map of all the things you wish you had. So what do you want to be good at? Do you want to be in, do you want to be extremely athletic? Do you want to have a lot of money. Obviously, that's a bit materialistic, but perhaps the reason you want a lot of money is because your purpose is to, you know, be charitable and help people, and you need a large income so you can donate the majority of it. That's completely, I would 100% support you if that's what you want to do. Where do you want to live? Do you want to live in a hot country or a cold country? You can get creative. You can visualize the things you do. Do you want to be skiing every day, or do you like the idea of ending the day after? Do you like the idea of working on your laptop in, you know, the spa in a hot country like Thailand, for example? Like, what? Just get creative. Nobody has to look at it. What kind of stuff do you want to be doing, like, in maybe a few years' time? Because it's not unrealistic to think in a few years' time. We live in a very giving age at the moment, even though there's a lot of problems with the modern generation. If your goal was to be, you know, financially free within a few years, that's definitely achievable. Perhaps it's not achievable for everyone, and perhaps it's not something you want for yourself, and that's absolutely fine. I'm just saying, don't be ashamed of the things you want, and feel free to write down absolutely anything. Just be completely open. Nobody has to read this, not even me. You can email it to me if you want to. We can get into a chat if you want. But yeah, just do this. And also ask yourself the question, what would you do if you had all the money, time, freedom, etc. in the world? Basically, you had all of the resources you could possibly need to go anywhere and do literally anything. You wouldn't just lie on the beach bored, like sipping. A lot of people might think, oh, I just retire and sip margaritas on the beach. That sounds to me boring as hell, and maybe that's because I don't drink and I don't like the beach. But also, I just think doing anything relaxing for your entire life is an absolutely terrible way to spend your life. I think that's why a fair amount of people, when they are old and retire from their job, actually end up being depressed, because we're not supposed to just do nothing and relax. You shouldn't want to relax from work. Your goal should be pursuing work that makes you not want to relax. If you're currently working a job like, you know, I am at the moment, where, you know, it's a fine job, but it's not like the end point. You don't want to spend your entire life there. Your goal shouldn't be to, you know, save up and then retire. Your goal should be to pursue a better job, one that you actually enjoy doing. And when you occasionally need a break, you can enjoy the break, and then when you need to go back to work, you can enjoy the work because it's purposeful. That's what you should be pursuing. So, now that I've asked you all these questions and probably, you know, lit your brain up a bit, you can pause the video and actually enjoy yourself designing all the things you wish you had, all the material stuff you wish you had. That's probably the least important thing, but I think a lot of people get creative with the kind of house they live in. And yeah, just get creative with your relationships, you know, how many kids you want, how, you know, what are the different things you want to do at different stages of your life. If you want to have an enormous level of ambition and become the president of your country, write that down. That's absolutely fine. Literally write anything down. So now that we've got a rough idea of the identity you one day want to have, we're going to set some actual goals. So there's really two types of goals we're going to be looking at here, apart from what you've just written down, which is kind of like very long-term, you know, ambitions, desires and stuff. We're going to set our first long-term goals, and these are going to be around a year. So you could say, I'm going to achieve this by the end of the year, or if it's like November when you're watching this, you could say the end of next year. You know what I mean? So like anywhere between 6 months and a year from now, that's the kind of goals we're going to set now. And you might not have ever actually really set goals in your life before. I know when I was in high school, they tried to make us set goals, and it was just study goals that nobody was invested in. Here's a tip, by the way. Probably doesn't really matter, but I'll just say it because it's kind of funny. You can never force somebody to set goals that they don't want to set themselves. If you try and make someone set a goal, they're not going to do shit towards it. If you've ever had a family member trying to lose, lose weight, or, you know, get healthier, and you set them a fitness goal or anything like that, they're not going to do shit towards it if they don't actually care. If they actually want to and they enjoy your help, they'll start doing these things on their own. So that's probably why setting goals in school didn't work, and people have a bad idea of setting goals and they don't really want to do it. But anyway, so we're setting goals for 1 year from now, and they could look anything like this. They could be, these are just random examples. It could be 10k subs on YouTube. It could be an 80 kilo bench press. It could be living in Thailand. It could be this job. Those are just four very different random examples. And of course, your long-term goal could be literally anything else. Don't make it absolutely ridiculous, something you can't achieve. If you've never posted a YouTube video in your life and you set the goal of 10 million subscribers, I mean, it could happen. I would say it is most likely not going to happen. So, because it took me a year to get to about 1100 subscribers. So good luck. If you want to set a really, really big goal, you might achieve it. But yeah, just try and set goals that you think you comfortably can achieve in that amount of time, if you're working on them. So these are our long-term goals. I want you to write these down. You can make like a notes thing on your phone called goals, and then lock it with a password if it's personal. And then you can put those goals in if you want. Now that you've done that, we're going to set short-term goals. And short-term goals are going to be probably about a week. Each week, if you set new short-term goals, that could be a good thing to do, a good period of time. And your short-term goals are basically going to stack up into your long-term goals. So for example, if your long-term goal was 10k subs on YouTube by the end of the year, as just a random goal, it's easy to measure because it's, to do with numbers. Your short-term goal for this first week of 52 weeks might be, I'm going to post 3 videos on YouTube, or maybe it's going to be I'm going to post my first video, and then the next week could be I'm going to post 3 or 4 videos, and the next week I'm going to post daily videos. Just something like that, where your short-term goals over time, if you slowly overloaded your goals each week, they would stack up and you would eventually reach that goal. So don't set yourself a ridiculous amount of short-term and long-term goals. The less goals you set, the more likely you are to achieve them. So I'd recommend you set probably anywhere between 1 to 3 long-term goals. I'm hesitant to say 4 because I think people will hear 4 and they'll go, oh, that means I can do 6 because I'm different. Just set 1 to 3. If you want to make a separate, if you want to go into your goals notes file on notes and write like other goals and put less important goals down, fine. Like if you want to run a marathon but that's not your main goal, fine. That like I write other goals down, but they're not the main goals. So just save main long-term goals for 1 to 3. Anywhere between that is fine. 3 is probably the max. And then your short-term goals are what you're going to set for this week. So you can write, week in my planner where I have like my calendar kind of. Each week is called like week 1, week 2, week 3, all the way through week 50, technically week 53 of the year because there's 52 weeks in one day in a year. But yeah, that's how my calendar is, so I can actually see what number week we're in. If you can't do that, you can just like write the date or whatever, or you can figure out what week you're in by Googling it. But basically, set yourself some short-term goals for this week. It could be, post 3 videos, 3 gym sessions. Identify, if it's a goal that's not like quantifiable by numbers, like obviously 10k subs, you can quantify it with numbers. If it's a goal like, for example, moving to another country, you might have to do a little bit more work and figure out what you actually need to do that, like how much do you need in savings, what kind of job do you need that's giving you what level of disposable income, and just, you could make a list of all the things to do and then set yourself a few things, like maybe researching visas this week. You get the picture. You might have to do a little bit more planning if it's a complicated goal. If it's a quantifiable goal, it should be pretty easy to plan what you should be doing. So, okay, that's our long-term and our short-term goals down. Just make sure you're not setting ridiculous goals, because these goals aren't just goals, they're also promises. You need to be keeping these promises as much as possible. When you write goals down and don't do them, it does hurt your confidence. And I don't want that for any of you, particularly me, which is why I preach it, because I try and preach everything I do and I try and do everything I preach. So now that we've got that written down, the final thing I will say on goals is ensure you're working on your purpose at the same time. I probably shouldn't have written that in this part of the video because we haven't actually talked about purpose yet. But basically, if your purpose is, for example, listen, I'll try not to make this too personal, but I'll talk about YouTube for me at the moment. For, as you probably would have seen, the majority of my YouTube channel so far has been on language learning stuff, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that because I learned a lot of crucial skills and I got over 1,000 subscribers, and it was a fun journey. But I don't think that wasn't really my purpose. I think this is a lot more purposeful now. This is the next layer of my purpose. So although I'm very grateful to my past self, my kind of mental, or maybe even not mental, but emotional understanding of what I was doing was working on the language learning side of things, and I was hoping for completion. Hoping for completion is basically where you're working on something and you hope to one day finish it so you can move on to the next thing. That's a very bad thing to do spiritually, generally. Like if you're doing something, you're like, oh, I'll do this thing I don't like for 3 months and then I'll start working on my real purpose. That's kind of like a depressed 55-year-old man type of thing to do, where I'm going to do this job and then I'll retire. It's like you should be living purposefully now. So I think what I mean by all of that is that don't do something that you're not going to enjoy and it's not purposeful, so you can do the purposeful thing later. Obviously, if you need to work, a part-time job now for money, like to get yourself off the ground, or to not die, you might need to work the job you're currently working right now that you don't enjoy at all. That could be an exception. So we'll say there's an exception for absolute essentials that you need to do to not like die right now. But if it's anything but that, where you've got the opportunity to do the purposeful thing now as much as you possibly can, always take that option, because it will pay dividends to your happiness and honestly to your success as well. If you like what you're doing, you'll make 10 times the progress. With the language learning stuff, I did like it, but it kind of needs to go beyond passion. If you're actually if you're making YouTube videos about language learning for fun, then it's probably okay. But when you need to post every single day and constantly upgrade the level your content is at and get more and more people to watch it and that kind of thing. And, you know, you're constantly held accountable where if there's ever a day you don't feel like language learning, which I, you know, sometimes don't because it's a hobby, then I feel bad because it's like, okay, well, I'm teaching people this. I can't just not do it myself. That's not fair on you guys. And it kind of ground away a little bit of my mental health. So my point in all that is pursue the purposeful thing. That's what I'm doing now. This is what I wanted to do after I got a certain amount of subscribers for the kind of language learning niche, and this is what I'm going to do now. So that's my point. Always go straight to purpose. Now we're going to talk about systems. So if you've never heard of systems before, you're going to have to wait till I get a drink of water. All right, so systems. First thing I'm going to say, there's a book, it's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I will link it below. Read that book, it's really good. Systems are basically what allow you to make progress towards your goals. So I was going to give an example and then I just got a screenshot from the PDF that I found, which is free in the description if you want to read it. It's about goal setting and stuff. It's by James Clear. He's the author of Atomic Habits and he's also, I think he's coached like high level entrepreneurs and athletes and stuff, helping them like get even better at their thing because he's so good at what he does. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, a sport that he's not a professional basketball player and he's not, you know, he doesn't run X company, but because he knows the skills of helping people with their habits and becoming more productive, he can help literally anyone because they all need his skill, which is productivity. So I'd highly recommend you check out his book. I think he might have a YouTube channel. Don't quote me on that, but you can try and find that as well if you want. Anyway, this isn't sponsored at all. I just literally just like the book. It's right next to me right now. So systems. The system is what allows you to make progress towards the goal. For example, if you're a coach, your goal is to win like a basketball championship or something. Your system is what your team does at practice each day. You can pause the video and read the other examples. I'm not going to, but you can see that a system is what allows you to achieve the goal. What a lot of people do is they set themselves goals for something, but they don't actually plan on how to achieve them. And the first thing I will say is if you set yourself a goal like going to the gym, the first thing you should do is take raw action. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people will set themselves a goal that's intimidating, like maybe going to the gym for the first time, and they plan and plan and plan and watch 100 videos on the different exercises. And it's like, bro, you've never even been to the gym before. Stop planning, just do it. But once you've done it for the first time and you have actually taken some action, that's when you should start actually planning and, you know, not being silly about it and like making a ridiculous amount of, you know, plans when you've never even done it that much, but plan in proportion to how experienced you are. So the more you actually do something and the more confident you get taking raw action, like for example, making YouTube videos, it's scary the first time. Now I just don't care because it's so easy now. I've made 250 videos plus a few that I haven't posted because they were absolute shit. But anyway, yeah, so where was I? I made myself laugh and now I forgot where I was. If you think some of my earliest videos are bad, you should see the videos I didn't post. They were, who knows, maybe I'll launch an inner circle for a paid subscription. You can watch the really shit videos that I've made. Anyway, so if there's this quote, I've no idea where it's from. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That's definitely true. So when you're setting goals, actually identify how you're going to achieve them. If you set yourself the goal on the previous page of, you know, 10K subs and you set yourself the short-term goal of post 3 videos, try and make that as systemized as possible. So identify the day you're going to record the videos on, what style of video, and then do it. And then you should also reflect on it. We're going to talk about reflection in a second, but make sure you put your short-term goals into some kind of schedule or habit tracker. You actually write them into your calendar when you're going to do them, or if it's something that you need to do every single day, like for example, you know, read for 30 minutes about something you're learning about. Maybe your short-term goal is to learn about, I don't know, the political system of your country if you plan on joining government. That's like your purposeful thing you're doing. You could set that 30 minutes a day, you're going to read a book on, you know, the Federalist Papers or something like that. That's productive for you to do. That can go into a habit tracker. If you want to see a video on habit trackers, I think it was largely about language learning, but I did talk about habit trackers. I'll link that below if I remember. But yeah, and finally, free PDF in the description. It's not mine. We're not sponsored or anything, but it's a PDF on goal setting. I haven't read the whole thing because I actually own the book, but you can read James Clear's PDF on it, and it's probably pretty useful. So that's systems and goals out of the way. Now let's talk about action. This is, I think, the biggest problem because it doesn't matter if you set goals. It doesn't matter if you don't set goals. If you just don't take action, it really doesn't matter what else you do because you're just not taking action. You're kind of just hoping you get better at something when in reality you're not. So here's what I recommend you do. You need to understand that progress is directly... Listen, you want results in something, right? If your goal is something to do with fitness. You want the results that you're after. You want to look better, feel healthier, be faster or stronger, etc. Results are directly correlated to the effort you put in. If you don't take action at all, you're not going to get any results at all. It's pretty simple. A lot of people have this kind of childish, and I don't even know if childish is the right word because adults have it too, but they have this childish mindset of they're just going to want something and they'll just get it, and they don't actually put in effort. And it's like every workout you skip is a small amount of, XP towards your goal that you've just lost because you skipped the workout and you didn't feel like it. I understand you're not going to feel like stuff every single day, but you need to have that mindset of me doing stuff gets me stuff and me not doing stuff stops me from getting stuff. That's how the world works, unfortunately. So I'm going to give you the number one productivity hack. I know people are watching this like, just give us the secret. This isn't really a secret, but it's also kind of a secret. My number one productivity hack is what's called Eat the Frog. That probably sounds like I'm talking absolute lunacy at the moment. It's not. Eat the frog, it basically comes from the analogy that if I gave you like a live frog and I made you eat it because you forgot to subscribe to my videos, subscribe below at the moment or I will make you do this. If I gave you a live frog and you just had to eat it and I said you can eat it before dinner or after dinner, I think most people would pick it before dinner because they could get it out of the way and wash it down with everything else. Whereas if they ate it after dinner, they would be dreading it the whole time they're eating dinner, and then it would feel disgusting because they wouldn't have anything to cleanse the palate. But that disgusting analogy aside, I can't remember who it comes from. It comes from some author. But anyway, what that analogy means is it's better to do the most important / difficult tasks first. So for example, if the most important possible task in your day is recording one YouTube video because you're trying to grow a YouTube channel, you're better off doing that first thing in the day and getting it out of the way even before you eat. You should be doing your Eat the Frog task fasted, which basically means you haven't actually even eaten food yet. You just wake up and do it as quickly as possible, get it out of the way, and that is my number one tip for making progress. There's been periods of my life when I've been very good at this, and those are the periods I've got the most subscribers and been the happiest. Then there's periods where I've checked my phone in the morning and done the thing at like 1 p.m. And that's like the worst, like least productive periods because I'm just putting off the difficult work and it's not fun. So another tip I'll give you that's also from James Clear. There's a lot of James Clear in this video. He's going to be in the description from the YouTube AI because I've mentioned his name so much. But 4 tips he gives for making habits and things you're supposed to do like easy to do, like you don't forget about them, is to make them obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. So obvious, make it so that you can't forget the habit. If you write it down and stick it to your desk or to the wall, that can be one of the best things you can do because you're constantly looking at it. I know for me personally, if I have stuff that I need to do in a day and it's, unless it's something I do every single day without fail, if I don't write it down and stick it in front of me, there's a fairly high chance throughout my busy day I will just not do it, or I'll put it off until the end and I'll cut into like my 8 or 9 hours of sleep, and so now I just don't want to do it anymore because I'm going to make my tomorrow worse. So try and make your habits obvious. If you can make a habit tracker and stick it to your desk. I don't currently have the camera on because I've been having some tech issues, but we'll get all that back, don't worry. You'll be back to daily videos from me and like much higher quality videos than these. Although I do think these are very valuable. I know a lot of people like this style of video, but I've literally got next to me my goals for this year, and then I did have a habit tracker, but it's been destroyed, so I'll have to make another one. But the point is I normally have that right next to me where I can see it when I'm working. And if ever I'm working on my laptop and I get distracted, I can literally look to the side at that and get distracted by my goals and habits. And I think that's the best way to get distracted because you're not doing something unproductive. You're just reinforcing what you said that you're going to do. The next thing is to make it attractive. And this can be difficult for something that's low dopamine. Like for example, the gym. There's going to be days where you just really don't feel like going to the gym, particularly if you're a beginner to the gym. For me, it's kind of fun. Like that, I think it's a really good state to be in where my version of junk food and like rewarding myself is going and hitting a very bloody hard workout, occasionally with some pre-workout. I'm glad that that's what I do to reward myself, whereas some people, have absolutely terrible habits to reward themselves, and, I used to be like that. So anyway, the best way to make your habits and things you should be doing attractive is, it really does depend on the habit, but do something to make it, the habits like, okay, I'll put this into an example. If your habit you need to do is the gym, do something that actually makes the gym fun. So something I would recommend people do, which can work a lot, is put some skin in the game, actually spend money on stuff. So if your habit is you need to start going to the gym, buy yourself some like fancy an $80 set of gym clothes. Yes, it's spending money, which you otherwise could save, But trust me, if you spent like, you know, that's not like super, super expensive for clothes. You can go way more, but it's obviously 80 bucks is fairly expensive for some one set of clothes. If you bought some like Nike, like nice clothes that you actually looked good in and then started going to the gym, having those clothes would actually make you want to exercise more. That's an example of how you can make a habit more attractive. So it's kind of hard to give a broad brush strategy for making habits more attractive. Comment below or email me if you want a hand. I'll put my email in the description if you want a hand with making habits attractive. But if you can make them as attractive and, you know, like you kind of feel pulled towards doing them as fun as possible, that's a really great way to associate fun with stuff. The next thing is make it easy. So get rid of as much friction as possible. If you have like a gazillion things you need to do before your habit, that's a lot more opportunities for you to give up. If you literally set your running shoes, clothes, and everything out, and your headphones before you go to bed, and then you wake up, it's very easy to go for a run first thing in the morning because everything's already ready. And when you wake up and you're in that kind of low dopamine, groggy mood, you don't want to have any kind of resistance at all. So try and figure out, look at the habit you need to do, look at the friction that's stopping you from doing it, and get rid of as much of it as possible. And then also remember that you need to be taking action for what I said before. Results are the product of the effort you put in. So you really should be doing this habit as much as possible, and that should make you want to get rid of the resistance, even if some of the resistance is comfortable, like checking your phone first thing in the morning. That's terrible for you. Don't do it, or I actually will make you eat a live frog. Anyone who skipped through the video and heard me just say that has absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, but I don't care about them because they didn't watch the whole video. The fourth thing on this I'll say is to make it satisfying, and the best way to do that is to follow the habit up with something you enjoy. So for me, after the gym, I know I have my BCAAs, which is like it's branched chain amino acids. It's like a nice drink you can have that's supposedly somewhat good for building muscle. And then I can also eat after that and maybe watch a video that's productive, but it's also relaxing because I'm going to watch a video from a YouTuber I like that, you know, improves my life, for example. So just do something after the habit that you don't particularly enjoy. Not something destructive, but ideally something that's rewarding and also kind of productive, like watching a video or reading as a reward after something, I think can be a great way to satisfy yourself. A life tip is to live with excitement in the near future. So if you can always have something exciting in the near future, that's actually a really great way to live your life. And again, don't make it something destructive, make it something that's good for you, but also rewarding. Always think about the future result as well. So I'm getting another drink because I've got a dry mouth. Always think about the future result, and I'll tell you why. So we've talked about this before. There's two types of gratification, delayed and instant gratification. Delayed gratification is things like, you know, eating healthy, going to the gym, reading, things that are not necessarily the most fun right now, but they're really good for you in the future and they're healthy. Instant gratification is things that are bad for you, but they kind of feel like attractive right now, like eating junk food, you know, watching Netflix. These things are a waste of time at best, unhealthy at worst, and they are easy to do because they give you dopamine. The way to start doing more delayed gratification and doing less instant gratification is to always think about the future result. If you're only thinking about, you know, comfort right now, it's very easy to do instant gratification because that's what's comfortable right now. But if you only do instant gratification, we know you're going to make your life worse, and that's not how you practice self-love, by just indulging in instant gratification. So always think about the future. Once you start thinking about the future, you come to realize that, okay, I should only really be doing delayed gratification things because this is how I, you know, show that I actually care about myself and I make my life better. And if I don't do these things, I'm really going to go nowhere in life, and we're back to the start where you end up with this red line. So that's a little bit about delayed and instant gratification. I might make a full video on these two things. I will also say I haven't written this in the video, but this is a fantastic tip that I learned, which is to wage war on comfort. So a lot of you right now, this is a really long video. Wow, I've been making a lot of long videos lately. A lot of you right now probably, and this is probably you, so don't lie, like this probably really is you, is you make decisions based on comfort. So when you're deciding what to do, next time you need to make a decision, like stop yourself and think about this. You probably are making the decision based on what is the most comfortable. Like when you decide, am I going to eat lunch inside or outside? You're probably trying to think about what's the most comfortable. You're not thinking about what's going to be the quickest and, you know, the most productive, so I can go do the productive thing I'm supposed to do after this. You're thinking about what's, you know, the most comfortable. And when it comes to, you know, the gym, should I, you know, do an extra 15 minutes or stop now? Should I stretch first or just go straight into it because I don't really like stretching? You're making the decision based off what feels the best. You need to stop being, I need to make a video on this as well. You need to stop being such an emotional person, and that makes people angry because we're supposed to be very emotionally switched on in this generation. I don't think we are. I think we're the most emotional generation, and not in a good way, because when you only listen to your emotions, you completely deny the reality that your emotions are a lot of the time not on your side. They can be on your side, but a lot of people aren't very emotionally developed because we don't teach this stuff in school. And so what happens is you're told to listen to your emotions, but you're not given any of the training to use your emotions properly. I need to make a video on that as well, because I try and use my emotions properly. When I'm angry, I use that to fuel the workout. When I'm, distracted and in a bit of a fluttery mood, I use that to go do a run or something that's really easy to do, doesn't require complex thinking. And then when I'm drained, I can come back and work. Like, I know how to use my emotions properly, but a lot of people don't at all. And so what they do is they make decisions based on comfort, and what this results in is they don't do the things they should be doing, and they make bad decisions, and they end up actually indulging in instant gratification. If your feelings are making you indulge in instant gratification, how could you possibly argue that listening to your emotions is a good thing right now? It can be a good thing, but you're not at that level yet. That's what I'm trying to say. And I've also written use your emotions as fuel, not a handbrake. I think I already kind of explained that. I might need to make a whole nother video on that, but if I was to summarize that in 10 seconds, when you have an emotion, figure out how to use it to be more productive. So if you're angry at a person, use that as fuel, because success is the best revenge. When you actually work on the tasks you're supposed to do, that's going to improve you as a person, and that's how you annoy them the most, because they're going to see how successful you are and how little you care about them, and that's going to make you the best person. That's a random example. I'm not going to go into that now. Don't get angry and use that as an excuse to not do work. That's how you basically don't make progress in life. And the final thing I'll say on action is become the most impressive version of you possible. You only get one life. You shouldn't be wasting it with comfort. The best possible version of you doesn't eat Easter eggs watching Netflix at the end of a hard day. The best version of you journals on what went wrong today and what they can improve on the next day. They show gratitude for what happened in their journaling. They plan tomorrow about what they're going to do. They put an extra workout in tomorrow because that's what they feel like doing. They read before bed to learn about something. They maybe message someone they love or a friend and say, I value you a lot. Like, I'm grateful for this thing you did. Let's hang out the next week. That's what the best version of you does, right? The best version of you isn't eating Easter eggs and scrolling TikTok before bed. Like, that's pathetic, okay? So you should be trying to be the best, most impressive version of you possible. The kind of person where, your grandkids will tell stories after you die. They're not gonna, forget about you. That was a bit grim, but you know what I mean. Become the most impressive version of you possible. I remember recently, I was talking to, someone's showed up with the post. I'm gonna have to pause the video 1 second. All right, I'm back. I had to pause the video because somebody delivered a parcel in the middle of the video, so that was a little bit interesting. But anyway, reflection. So reflection is, I think this is the second last part of this video. Reflection is how you improve faster. So what I recommend you do is I'd recommend journaling at least once a week. If you need to journal, more than that, that's absolutely fine. Like, you can journal every night if you want, but I'd recommend you journal once a week to reflect on the week and what went wrong. I'll talk about the kind of questions you could ask yourself in a second, and I'd also recommend you journal whenever you have a terrible day. So minimum once a week, and if you have an absolutely terrible day, you have to journal at the end of that day as well, because that's how you actually pick yourself up and go into the next day not having a bad day. So the types of questions you should be asking yourself when you're doing reflection journaling is: what progress did you make? What didn't go well? How can you eliminate obstacles? How can you progressive overload? Progressive overload is basically, like, for example, in the gym, you increase the weight of the dumbbells over time, and that's how you get stronger. You can't just keep using the same weight. As you get stronger, you have to make it heavier, and that's how you get even stronger. You can progressive overload habits. Like, for example, if you're meditating for 3 minutes, you can meditate tomorrow for 4 minutes. You can read for slightly longer if possible. You can try and make 2-3 videos in the time it usually takes you to make 2. Just little things like that. Obviously, don't self-sabotage, but progressive overload is something you can definitely implement into your habits. How can you work smarter as well? So not just work harder, but also work smarter, be more time efficient. Can you, if you're making, if you're making daily YouTube videos, rather than record one each day, can you just batch film like all 7, and then you've got the rest of the week off, and you can just schedule them each day? Like, you know what I mean? Just work smarter and implement all these things as best as possible. So when you write down all these things, you can, I like to write when I can't show you a picture right now, can I? I like to write my journaling for reflection journaling in sections. Like, I'll write just purely emotionally at the start, how was today? I'll write what I liked. I try and show something I'm grateful for, even on the worst of days. I'll be grateful. Like, I never drink alcohol, for example. Like, I've never had a beer or anything in my entire life, and I'm very grateful for that. So no matter how bad the day is, I still, unless I break and start drinking, which has never happened, but no matter how bad the day is, I can say, you know what, I'm grateful for the fact that I've got, friends who throw up drunk, and I don't do that. I can just write that down as something I'm very grateful for about my, my own character. And so I like to start off with that, and then I can write about the things I didn't like about today, just purely emotional. I didn't like this happen, this made me feel bad, blah, 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 blah. And then as you've got all that, out of you, you start to move away from the emotional side, the pessimistic side, and into the logical side. So you go, okay, I've showed gratitude, that's good. I've got something to be grateful, I'm a great person. And then I've written the things I didn't like about today. That happened, it's all good, I'm on my own now, I'm still alive. I didn't like that. Now that we've gone through that, let's stop this from happening again. So I'm moving into the logical, and I'm writing down the solutions to these things. So for example, if today I was, a bit shy, for example, at work, and I didn't really talk to any customer, and I'm usually a chatty person, I like to socialize with people, but if I was, quiet at work and it was kind of boring because I didn't really talk to anyone, I'd be like, okay, I didn't really like this, it was kind of a bad work shift. I don't really like this happening. Let's talk about why that happened. And I might be like, okay, the reason I was quieter at work was because I ate some junk food when I knew I shouldn't have. That damaged my confidence, and so it put me in a bad mood. I didn't really think about talking to people. Like, you'd be surprised when you actually start journaling. You're very logical, and you can actually come up with solutions very easily because you already have all the solutions inside of you. You're just so caught up in pessimism, and you haven't actually shown gratitude or released the emotions onto paper that you don't even know how to solve these problems. So I'd highly recommend you journal at least once a week, and then whenever you have a terrible day, write these things out. And then once you've written out the solutions, write out in dot points what you're going to do tomorrow, and then that's when you can plan tomorrow. So you can write some promises out. Maybe you're going to write 2 promises. I'm not going to eat junk food tomorrow, and I'm going to do 30 seconds of meditation where I just set a 30-second timer on my phone, close my eyes, and just focus on my breathing for 30 seconds. Just something like that, just to improve your day a little bit, and then you'll go from there. Another thing I'll say as well is make sure you actually implement the things you write down. It's very easy for some people. I don't know if I've done this too often. Maybe I have, but to write things, yeah, I think I kind of have done this before. To write down things you're going to do and then not do them. Again, it goes back to the obvious thing we talked about with the James Clear habits. Make these things obvious. You can, leave the journal open on your desk, so when you wake up, it's the first thing you look at. If it's personal and you don't want anyone to walk in and see it, I guess maybe fold it. If you're journaling on your phone, you don't really want to check your phone first thing in the morning, so maybe journal on your phone. I would recommend you do paper and pen, but if you're doing it on your phone, fine. And then you can write down the specific things on pen and paper and stick that to your desk, so it's just those things and it's not all your emotions and stuff. And yeah, I will also say research problems, don't just quietly suffer. Guys, this annoys me. You can't see me right now, but I'm actually fucking furious. People literally do this. They have a problem and they don't even Google it. Like, they have Jesus, oh my God. This happened when I was helping people with language learning. Not all of them. There were some people that were more switched on, but some people, and I'm not angry at them, by the way, because everyone's learning, and I've done these things too, but not as much as some of them. They would have a problem, like, for example, they didn't understand verb conjugation, and rather than actually fixing the problem and, looking it up, they just got angry and didn't do anything about it. And it's like, you might not understand what that means. That's okay if you don't understand language learning. Basically, they would have a topic within language learning they didn't understand, and rather than look it up, take notes on it, put it into flashcards and memorize it, even though they didn't understand it, they just got angry that they didn't automatically understand something that they'd never fucking seen before, and they just assumed they were supposed to understand it. And it made me laugh and also angry at the same time, because it was like, why the fuck would you understand that if you've never looked at it before? You know what I mean? So yeah, I got a bit angry there. The video is probably not going to get demonetized, but I don't know if I did myself any favors. The point is, if you have a problem, like for example, you've got an injury in the gym, rather than just getting angry at yourself, actually look it up and see how you can best solve the problem. Don't go to bed until you have a solution for the problem that happened today. And if you can't find a solution on the internet, try YouTube, try asking someone. I know I gave this tip in my previous video, I'm going to give it again. You'd be surprised how nice a lot of content creators on YouTube are. Even if they've got probably anywhere between 0 and like maybe 50 to 60,000 subs. Beyond that, maybe they're too busy to answer comments, but generally if you comment on a YouTube video or you email the creator or you join their inner circle, like they might have a free Discord server or something, if you comment on their video and you ask them a question, say, hey, love your videos, I've been having a bit of difficulty with this. Is it all good if you send me an email with your tips, or if you maybe jump on call for like 10 minutes, and that you'd be surprised how many creators agree to that for free, because we actually like helping people. I know I do that with people, and a lot of my friends on YouTube who are at the same level, they'd help you if you asked them. They wouldn't even charge you money or anything. They'd literally just help you because we like helping people. So use that as well. If you can find, you probably watch creators that have like a few million subscribers on things that interest you. But if you can look up that topic and just find another creator that's maybe only got a few thousand subscribers, but they have what you want, like they're in fantastic shape if you're watching gym content, you know what I mean? And ask them, you'd be surprised. That actually goes a long way. Just be a nice person, and people like me and other YouTubers will actually help you. So that's one thing I will say. Also become an authority on the things you're supposed to be doing. So if one of your goals, for example, is gym related, because that's, I think, an easy goal to give an example of, don't just do the habits, also become an authority on it. So learn about the exercises, learn about the dieting, learn about, motivation, how you can, trick your dopamine into liking the gym more. Become an authority on the topic so that I could ask you questions and you could answer. I know when I started going to the gym, obviously I didn't know anything. And then a few months later, I was having a chat with one of my mates at my old job, and he was doing like uni for like physiotherapy. He was going to be a physiotherapist. We were just having a chat about like, how the shoulder is a trilateral. You've got like 3 heads to the shoulder, the, anterior, posterior, and lateral heads. And I just knew this stuff because I'd actually researched it. And I think research all the things you're interested in, research the goals you set, and become an authority in all of them. And finally, the last thing I'll say on reflection before we move on to just a few other miscellaneous tips, the worst possible enemy when it comes to reflection, when it comes to productivity, is the rut. If you haven't heard of a rut before, a rut is basically, it's like a period of no productivity. So maybe you go 2 weeks without really doing anything productive, and you indulge in a lot of instant gratification, and you don't do your goals, you don't do what you say you're going to do, and so you just kind of feel bad, lazy, unproductive. You know that you've probably had these plenty of times. I have them all the time. I've probably just come out of one like a week ago. But you just have a period of not really doing anything. That's what a rut is. This is the worst enemy, because it's kind of like you don't keep your promise, and so you feel bad, and so because you feel bad, you do some instant gratification, and that instant gratification makes you feel worse, and so you do more instant gratification, and meanwhile you've wasted time, you cheated on your purpose, you haven't kept your goals, you haven't kept your promises, and so you feel even worse, so you do more instant gratification, etc. This is the absolute worst thing you can do, and it's so bad I might actually write a free PDF and link it when I make a video on this, because it annoys me. But the way you escape from one of these periods of low productivity is to do the opposite. So what it is to do is to it's kind of like, imagine you're exercising and you've injured yourself. You can't just go back, if you're doing like an 80 kilo bench press and you hurt your chest, you can't just go back the next day with an injury and hit the 80 kilo bench press, because you're going to hurt yourself even more. And yet when you have a rut, what a lot of people do is if they don't record a YouTube video today, which was their goal, they try and make it even heavier. They set themselves the goal of recording 2 YouTube videos the next day, for example. And this might seem reasonable because you're trying to make up for what you missed, but it's kind of like going into the gym with an injury and going, okay, I couldn't work out yesterday because I was injured. I'm still kind of injured. I'm going to do 100 kilo bench press instead of 80 to make up for it. It's like, it doesn't make any sense, and you're only going to hurt yourself more. So when you're in a rut, set yourself an easier promise than normal that you can keep. Maybe it's if you normally record 2 videos on this day, you could say I'm only going to record 1. Just make it something easier that you can achieve. And what you'll find is once you actually keep a promise to yourself, you get a little bit of dopamine from that because you've completed an essential task, and then you can use that as fuel to do the next thing you're supposed to do. Even though you haven't written down anything else, you can continue to work if you want. And then try and push push the instant gratification that you feel the urge to do away from you. So if you have the urge to look at your phone, get rid of your phone. If you have the urge to eat junk food, literally just leave the house, like take yourself away from it, and you'll find you slowly get out of it. It's pretty hard to explain. If you like are having some difficulty with this, you can definitely email me and we can maybe jump on call and I can give you a hand. And I'm probably not going to make a video on this, but yeah, that's enough on reflection. Let's talk about the final part of this video, which is other tips. So always be sacrificing and aligning your life to your purpose. So I think I've already said I'll link my purpose video below, but you should always be trying to align your life as much as you want with your purpose. I can't remember the exact quote, but there's a book called The Way of the Superior Man, which is a pretty good book. It's pretty based, so some of you might get offended reading it, but it's a pretty good book. And one of the quotes in it goes something like a good man aligns his life to his purpose. I've completely butchered it, but that's like what the quote is basically, what it means. I'm paraphrasing it. But you should always be doing things to align with your purpose. So if your purpose is to get in fantastic shape and you want to, obviously you might already be eating healthy and exercising, but if you want to watch TikTok before bed, it might be a better thing to do to not watch TikTok and to instead order a book on physical health that you can read that before bed instead. So just try and do everything you can to align your life to your purpose, and it will take discipline, but you will actually feel more fulfilled doing this. Another thing I will say is to attack your goals from multiple angles. So this is a really, really good tip. For example, if your goal is to get in fantastic shape and to be healthier, you're probably already going to the gym as the main thing, but you can also learn to cook the meals that are high protein and very healthy. You can start reading about the exercises. You can consume content about how to have better form. You can hire a personal trainer. You can maybe teach other people because that might help you. You can start tracking your weight and the weights of the weights you're lifting at the gym. You can do all of these other things other than the key task, which is going to the gym. And all of these other things are also helping you achieve your goals. So even though obviously you're not going to go to the gym 24 hours a day, that's silly. You can try and do other things throughout the day that are actually, you can stick on a podcast to do with fitness when you're driving in the car, for example. You can do all these other things to actually help you make progress because you're attacking your goal from multiple angles. So that's what I'd recommend. I'd also recommend lay the foundations as well. So although working on your purpose is really good and you should do it, try and lay the foundations. If you're in absolutely terrible health and terrible, you're at a terrible level of fitness, your productivity is bad, you have no social skills, no confidence, your finances, like your disposable income is like maybe really low, so you can't even order books on things that interest you. You're not particularly, you don't really know how to enjoy yourself, you're constantly not having fun, you can't learn things, you don't have any skills. If all of these things are bad, it's very difficult to make progress in anything, particularly the health one. So I would recommend you focus on these things. If you're not sure what to do, screenshot this part of the video because all of those things are things you can invest time into if you're not sure what to do. Also, eliminate vices. So whenever you're doing a vice is like the opposite of a virtue. It's a bad thing. We could also say instant gratification. When you're doing any of these bad habits, they're making you feel worse, and they're also taking away from your purpose and the progress and you becoming a better person, which is ultimately, we've come a long way in this video, but ultimately we're here to become better at life, to not be bored or unfulfilled, and to constantly be improving. And when you're indulging in vices, this is not helping you. So it kind of goes back to the emotional thing. If you only listen to your emotions, they don't always want what's good for you, and so they will make you do vices that are bad for you. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Try and eliminate as many vices as possible. You should be doing this through your reflection journaling if you're honest with yourself, so that one will come naturally. Another thing that's very, very, very important to understand is friends are anchors for better or worse. So if you know what an anchor is, I don't know if you've ever been on a ship before, but I've been on cruise ships and they have massive anchors. They basically stop the ship from moving. So if you have a friend that's really good for you, maybe your friend's really nice to you, maybe they're healthy, maybe they have dreams, maybe you get along and they're, a positive person, they don't make you feel like shit. A good friend, basically, they're kind of like an anchor, but the opposite. Like they're almost like a hook that you've thrown this hook up and they're pulling you up. They're like dragging you up. And that sounds probably violent, but that's a good thing. Like they're pulling you up in a good direction, right? That's what a good friend should do. Unfortunately, there are also bad friends, or friends that have things that you don't want to be like them, for example, and they're more of a traditional anchor where they're pulling you down. So if all of the friends in your life are people you don't want to be like and they're bad people, they are anchors and they are pulling you down and making you like them. And the same is true if you surround yourself with, 5 millionaires, you're going to become the 6. You know the saying that goes something like that. They're good friends are hooks, like they're pulling you up towards a a higher place. Like they're hot air balloons. They're pulling you up into the clouds. So what I need you to understand is the people in your life that you surround yourself with are a very good indication of the direction you're going in. Even if you're not, like, say you make friends with a bunch of, gym guys because you just started going to the gym and they've been going for a few years, so they're in great shape. It doesn't matter that they're better than you. The fact that you're friends with these people is good, hopefully, unless they're, terrible outside of the gym, because they're going to make you better. They're going to train you. They're going to, talk you up. You're going to be in their group chat where they talk about the gym, and they're going to help you. I've used a lot of gym metaphors in this video, but they're basically going to help you get better because you're going to become more similar to them. The same is true if you're friends with a bunch of, what's a good example? If you're friends with, I can't say that on YouTube. If you're friends with a bunch of not good people, we'll say, and they're not particularly nice to you, even if you think you're better than them, you're still going to maybe slightly become more like them, and the people you actually would like to be like will probably not want to be friends with you simply because you hang out with these people. So just be aware the people you're around have an effect on you. Same goes for content creators you watch. If you watch, good role models, you'll become more like them. If you watch brain rot content, you'll become more of an idiot, basically. So just be aware the people you are around are anchors in any direction, up, down, sideways. Take stock of them. If somebody said you're like this person, would you be offended? If you were, they're probably not a good friend. If somebody said you're like this person, would you take that as a compliment? If you did, then that's probably an indication they're a good friend. If someone said, "Oh, you're like this person, you know a lot about this," and you take that as a compliment, then that's a good thing. If someone said you remind me of, John, that's a random name I've thought of. I don't even think I have any friends called John. And you took that as an insult because you didn't really like him that much. He's probably not a good friend to have around. So that's just common sense. Also challenge, 2 more things, then we'll move on. 2 more things and we're done, I think. I've got to go somewhere after this, so let's wrap this up. Challenge your beliefs is another thing I will say. So I thought of this fantastic analogy. You're going to want to hear this. I call it the letter return address analogy. I want you to imagine all of the beliefs you have about everything, about literally everything in life, are letters. They're like little letters in an envelope, and they all come from somewhere. So every letter, or not every letter, but most letters will have some kind of return address. If you get a letter from the Australian tax office, it'll have, you'll flip it over and it will have a return address saying dickheads because they don't do their job right. You know what I mean? It'll have a return address on it from where it comes from. And all of your beliefs also have return addresses. They have a place they come from written on the envelope. So if you have very bad beliefs about money, for example, maybe you think that you can never make a good amount of money and you're always going to be struggling with money because that's how your family is. Well, I've just given you the answer. That envelope that has your beliefs about money and how you can't be successful because you were just born into this family, and no matter what you do, you can never, have some level of disposable income. That envelope has the return address of your parents on it because they have instilled these beliefs into you. Some people have very, some people have very, I'm trying to think of another example that's not fitness related. Some people have very negative beliefs towards, for example, maybe a certain political party because their parents have told them that and they've never even thought about it for themselves. And so that envelope that says so-and-so is a bad person could be true, could be not true, could be somewhere in the middle. I think it's usually somewhere in the middle. But that envelope has a return address of their parents because that's where it's come from. And a lot of people have never even questioned, that's why I'm bringing this up. A lot of people have never actually questioned where these envelopes, where their beliefs come from. They never even checked the return address. They've just opened their letter, looked at it and gone, okay, I guess this is what we believe. And they haven't even looked at where it comes from. So take stock of your beliefs, particularly the beliefs that aren't good. If you have negative beliefs about progress, about, maybe you want to make YouTube videos, but you don't want people to judge you. That's a negative belief. Where does that come from? Look at the return address. Is it coming from friends who you think will be mean to you? Well, that goes back to the friends thing. I think you shouldn't be friends with them if they're going to treat you like that. Just that kind of thing. So always, whenever you have a belief, particularly if it's to do with an important topic, like think about the things you believe. You can even write them down if you want. Look at the return address, see where they come from, and then see, do I actually want to believe that person? Do I want to be like that person? Should I question this belief, or should I just, read it and file it? You know what I mean? And the final thing I will say is comfort that we've talked about before, instant gratification, is bad, but it's not really the big boss. It's kind of like the side enemy. If you've ever played a video game, you know how there's like the final boss, but then before you get to the final boss, there's also like the goons, like the guys that aren't even that bad. You just kind of kill them and rack up the points and steal their weapons and that kind of thing. That's what comfort is. Comfort's bad, but ultimately, once you start your self-improvement journey and you're actually not like a complete goblin who's constantly eating junk food for every meal, it's pretty easy to start avoiding instant gratification. Like, you don't even feel like watching like bullshit on YouTube or TikTok anymore. You actually enjoy reading. So comfort is, it's bad, but you'll get past it. It's not really that bad. The final boss, the thing that is actually bad, a lot of the time is actually fear. And you might not have thought about this because maybe you're at the level where you are struggling with comfort and instant gratification, and that's okay. You will get through that. But fear, I want you to understand, is the final boss. Let me give you an example. If your goal is maybe it's to do what I'm doing right now, and it's to start making YouTube videos, yes, it's comfortable to not do that and just to consume. But obviously, that's not, you'll make a YouTube video. Like, it's you can push aside the comfort for 1 second. The thing that will actually mess you up and stop you is fear. If you're afraid of other people's judgment, if you're afraid that you're wasting your time and this won't work, if you don't have faith in yourself, it's very easy to give into fear and to not do the thing. Fear is the biggest killer of dreams. The reason people don't pursue, the acting career or I don't know why I thought of that, but the thing that they want, maybe, I'll use a gym analogy, even though I said I wasn't going to. The reason people don't start going to the gym and, getting in shape, even though they really, really want to, it's what they'd love to do. If they could have one thing come true, they'd be in fantastic shape. A lot of the reason behind all these different things, ultimately, a lot of the time, is fear. They're intimidated. They don't want to be made fun of. They're just worried something will go on. Sometimes there isn't even a reason. They just feel fear emotionally, and so they don't do it. And so what I want you to understand, the thing you're afraid of a lot of the time is the thing you should be doing. So why is there someone on my driveway? Get off my driveway. Walk on the road. Sorry. The thing that you are often afraid of is something that you should be doing. And obviously someone's going to be silly and be like, oh, I'm afraid of heights, so I should go jump off a building. Maybe you should if that's the kind of answer you think of. So I didn't say that. This video is going to get demonetized. That was a joke. My point is that if you're afraid of doing something like you want to start a YouTube channel, but you're afraid of it, that's a good sign that you should do it because you're feeling resistance and it's something that you should do to make progress. So I just want you to understand, never let fear ever get in the way of doing something that you should be doing. If it's your purpose to do something, who actually gives a crap if anyone makes fun of you for it? Like, do the thing you're supposed to be doing. I don't think anyone, so far, nobody has actually had a jab at me over YouTube. They technically have, so I take that back. But the point is, I don't care because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It doesn't matter what anyone says. I'm going to get to, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million subscribers on YouTube. I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to continue making videos. I'm going to buy more expensive camera equipment. I don't care if anyone thinks it's a waste of money. I don't care if anyone says this is a waste of time and I'm never going to make it, because I will make it. I'll continue making videos until I get to 1 million subscribers and help people all over the world with problems that I've, come to. And this is my purpose. I'm going to help people. I don't care. I don't care what anyone thinks. I don't give a shit what anyone thinks, because I care. When I finish making this video, I'm going to sit in silence and be grateful that I did this, because someone out here, someone watching this video had an absolutely fucking terrible day and they watched this video and they felt fantastic, and maybe they want to call me and they want to talk to me because I've actually helped them. That's what brings me fulfillment. And also, I'll continue doing this, just to make this materialistic for a second. I'll continue doing this and I'll get a following, and I can, quit my job that someone else that, thinks this is stupid and a waste of time is always going to have a terrible job. I'm going to be the one living an awesome life where I literally help people. That's how I, survive with money. I help people. It's an awesome job to have while they're living a shit job, and all because I didn't give into fear. So what I want you to understand, never give into fear. If you have a goal, pursue it ruthlessly. If your goal intimidates you, like you need to do something you've never done, go to the gym, maybe you need to post a YouTube video, maybe you need to, quit your job and move to a different country if that's to do with your goal. Never ever be afraid. Don't give in to fear. There really isn't that much in this world that can kill you. Like, there's obviously, someone again is going to hear that and think something silly. There really isn't that many things if you live in a Western country that can kill you. You're not going to die from any of the things that you probably are afraid of doing, like going to the gym, posting a YouTube video. None of these things are going to kill you. They're just, maybe someone will make fun of you. Who cares? It really isn't that bad, and you'll smoke them in life anyway if that's the kind of person they are. So guys, that is a video. PDF linked in the description. If you've watched all the way, please subscribe. I definitely appreciate it. You don't have to, but if you don't, I don't know why, because I make really good videos. If you want to get in touch with me, I think I'm going to post my Instagram link soon. I need to actually set up my Instagram properly because I didn't really use it before. But if you want to get in contact with me, you can email me, you can comment below. I'd love to talk to you guys. If you need a hand with anything, let me know. I love helping people. That's the video. Thanks for watching. Go do something productive. Don't scroll TikTok after this, or I will literally make you eat a live frog. I'm not joking. It's happened before. Have a good one. Peace.